This is the 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid Limited with all-wheel drive. In this video, we're going to check out all the features, take it for a drive, and then we're going to put it to the test right here at our Peninsula Proving Grounds. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. The Tucson is Hyundai's best-selling vehicle. This competes directly against the Honda CR-V Hybrid, the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, and the Subaru Forester, which you can't currently get as a hybrid. The model we're testing today is the 2025 Tucson Hybrid Limited with all-wheel drive. This features some minor exterior changes and a fully refreshed interior. Price as you see it here, you're looking at $42,550 US, including destination. Under the hood is a 1.6-liter turbocharged four-cylinder that makes a peak 178 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. It is combined with a 64 horsepower electric motor and a 1.49 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack for a peak system output of 231 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Unlike the competition, which relies on various types of CVTs, the Tucson is equipped with a standard 6-speed automatic transmission. Drive modes are carried over from 2024, but there's now a new My Drive submenu that also features a baby mode to smooth acceleration. So instead of adding an off-road mode, they went with a baby mode. EPA rates economy at 35 miles to the gallon in city and on the highway. The wheels on this trim are rather large, 19-inch alloys wrapped in 235/55 Michelin Primacy all-season tires. I think this is actually a nice improvement over the prior generation Tucson. It still looks like a Tucson, of course, but the way they've redone this nose, it's a little bit more angular, it's a little bit more muscular looking. But like before, the headlights, they're not up here, they're down here, which is always an interesting choice. I do like the blacked out Hyundai badge. That's nice. As for the side panels and the back, they basically look the same. In the back, you do get a lot of cargo space for the class. Pull an easy lever to lower the second row. You can't really sleep back here as is. Hyundai uses a pretty lightweight piece of plastic that is prone to cracking and breaking. It does sit mostly flat, however. Back here it also has an included 12-volt DC power socket. Instead of a spare tire, the Hyundai Tucson comes with a repair kit under the floor. This includes a small compressor and a bottle of Fix-A-Flat. The second row is nicely accommodating for an adult. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and I fit just fine. There's a center armrest with cup holders, vents, and USB sockets in easy reach. Up front, you can really appreciate this new design. The big panoramic sunroof and light interior makes for a very pleasant experience. The transmission controller has been moved to the steering column to free up space in the center console. Here, you can charge your phone with a wireless charging pad, as well as have quick access to commonly used options. The main screen is now the curved design that we've seen on some other Hyundai and Kia models. It integrates two displays to look as one. On the driver's side, we get a digital gauge cluster that changes based on drive modes. It also integrates blind spot cameras. In the middle, there's a newly redesigned interface with quick access to maps, music, and vehicle settings. Of course, this also supports wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. For safety, this 2025 model is loaded with all the regular stuff: collision mitigation, blind spot warning, and surround view camera systems. It also now has an IR eye sensor to make sure that the driver is looking ahead. The benefit of this system is that it can safely bring the vehicle to a stop if it detects the driver is incapacitated. The downside? This car is always watching me, judging me, looking at me. Some people just don't want that. Overall, this new model, I think, looks a lot classier than the outgoing model. That was still kind of old Hyundai. This is newer new Hyundai. Okay, here we are inside the vehicle, and I have to say, it actually looks really nice. I love the swept gauge cluster center screen combo. I think that's a really nice look. In fact, Mercedes has been doing that on some of their most recent vehicles as well, and for good reason. Look at it. Now I love that we have this little shelf over here. That's a nice touch. And then down here we have quick access to all the aircon, including heated steering wheel, nice, as well as heated seats and cooled seats as well. I do get paddle shifters and everything else that I need. So Overall, like this interior. Historically, not a huge fan of the designs that Hyundai went with, but this one I like a lot. And I especially like this massive bin down here where you can just kind of throw things is great. With all the details out of the way, now let's take this for a drive. Okay, let's get this party started. In sport mode and floor it. It's okay. It doesn't feel quite as fast as the horsepower rating would make it seem, but it is smooth. I'll give it that. It's a very smooth powertrain. So unlike the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, which uses a dedicated electric motor in the back to power the rear wheels as part of the electric all-wheel drive system, this one uses an electric motor integrated into the transmission. So that way you have your standard H-Track all-wheel drive and all the modes and everything all kind of works like a normal Hyundai all-wheel drive vehicle. There's nothing new here. But on the upside, you get improved economy. That's kind of what it's all about. And with this one, you do get 35 mpgs both in the city and on the highway, and I can absolutely believe it. Switching into eco mode gives me the best economy. It also changes up the gauge cluster, so I get an eco gauge. Take my foot off the gas, and now we're charging because we're slowing down with those regen brakes. Let's feel those regen brakes. Well, they feel like normal brakes, which is good. That is high praise for a regen system. You never want them to feel too staged or too boosted. So that's pretty good. For the last mode that's a standard mode, we have snow, which will cut power and also try to engage that rear center clutch to push power to the back as necessary in snow-like conditions. And then we also have My Drive. Now, how do we modify My Drive? My Drive mode. Okay. The default drive mode for the My mode is Smart powertrain setting, optimal drive mode for Smart, which is basically going to balance eco and sport to the best of its abilities. But now we have this new Baby mode. So Baby mode is supposed to make starts and stops as smooth as possible. Okay, let me just start acceleration. Oh man, that's smooth. It's also very slow. So I guess if whether you have a fur baby or a real baby, that's kind of nice. But it also just tells me that, dude, you can just do this with your foot. Just don't punch the throttle, and you're not gonna give those magnificent G-forces to everybody in the cab. But then again, even in like normal Smart mode, this vehicle, it just doesn't have like neck snapping G-forces. So I could see that on something like a Baby mode. That makes sense on something like, I don't know, a Dodge Charger Hellcat. Sure, put a Baby mode on it. But on a vehicle that's already very smooth and frankly doesn't feel very fast, I just don't see that's really needed. But hey, Baby mode, welcome to 2025. The seats feel pretty comfortable. In the, what was that I drove recently, the brand new Santa Fe, I found the seats to be really not that comfortable on long drives. I kind of feel like these are probably the same kind of seats. They feel pretty comfortable when you first start, but it does feel like it's a little firm on the bottom cushion. That might tend to wear after a while, like wear me down. Visibility is excellent in this vehicle. I can see why a lot of people like it. You kind of just feel like you have command of the road. You can kind of see everything very easily. And it's also a very practical, very straightforward shape. There's nothing to learn here. There's nothing to get over. There's nothing to think about. You just get in your vehicle and drive it. So it feels really smooth, and I have great visibility, but is it really slow? Or is it actually surprisingly quick? Let's do a 0 to 60 test to find out. I'm going to complete stop, and I'm just going to floor it. I'm in sport mode. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go. That's so slow to start. Then it kicks in once that gas motor hits. And 60 in 7.64 seconds. Okay, so it's actually a little bit quicker than it feels. Nice. So the suspension, it's a little bit on the bouncy side, but it's actually pretty smooth. It feels really nice. It's damping all the little bumps and stuff that I'm getting on the road here. I think that if you pick this as like a family / commuter car, it would be a really good choice. I mean, it's highly economical, it's comfortable to drive, has all the tech that you really would want here in 2024. Oh yeah, the dampers actually soaked up those bridge joints really nicely. This vehicle rides really well. So comparing this to the Honda CR-V Hybrid, the RAV4 Hybrid, and the Forester, obviously the Forester, we're just going to bump that out of the equation because there's no hybrid version available yet. That's coming later this year or early next year. The CR-V I really like. It drives really nice, and the power output out of it is just fantastic. On the street, I kind of think I lean more towards the CR-V, but this vehicle is very nice. It does everything quite well, actually. Then there's the RAV4, and the RAV4, I think it's really due for a redesign, and mostly it comes down to like the seats and the interior. They're just kind of bland and uninspiring. Overall, I still kind of like the RAV4, but it's showing its age. Everybody else is getting better, and that vehicle has not been updated yet. So probably next year we'll see a new one, but I would actually gravitate towards this over the RAV4. But then when you throw the CR-V into the equation, then I'd go towards the CR-V, I think. I just prefer the way it drives. Now we do have adaptive cruise control on this, as well as lane centering. It comes on the Limited. I'm going to go ahead and set it. And let's see, what do we got for lane detect? We do have lane detect with auto tracing down the middle. And I'm just taking my hands off for the sake of this video. It is a hands-on system. And yeah, it's tracking just fine down the middle, which is what I'm taking a look at here. It's all good. There's just a lot of nice details in this vehicle. Everything from when I shift, I get this cool display up here, to the charging status. There's a 3-bar light here that's showing my phone is charging. So there's no question what's going on here. And it's all nicely done. It's almost like if Apple were to design an interior, this is kind of what I think they would end up doing. It's that good. It really is. It's very nice, very well thought out. So even though you may not actually find yourself on gravel roads all that often, the same thing applies to snow. Snow is a slippery condition. Gravel and dirt can also be a slippery condition. So in snow, you need the vehicle to be able to shift power around the system to be effective in those conditions. For that test, we have here the easy course on our Fun Forest track. Before we get onto the trail, let's talk about this vehicle. So the Hyundai all-wheel drive system on this vehicle is very much like other Hyundai H-Track systems. It uses a multi-plate clutch in the middle to shift power from the front to the back, and it has open diffs both on the front axle and on the back axle. What that means is that when a wheel left or right loses traction, it can just spin and all the power will want to go out that path of least resistance. So the tech that is employed is a brake vectoring system that'll apply some braking to the spinning wheel, which will then shock that power back into the system, in theory to the other wheel, which will then move us forward. It is a system that is on most of these class of vehicles. Some do it better than others. And Hyundais, typically they're pretty conservative with their power shift. So let's see what 2025 has in store for us. Drive mode is always a big point of contention with Hyundais because they don't have an off-road mode in the US. Elsewhere in the world they do. For some reason they don't include one here. We're going to use smart mode and sport steering because I prefer the sport steering feel. And that's it. So let's go forward. So I'm going to drive up here. Still got grip on all wheels, but then once I start turning, we're going to lift grip off of the driver's side front wheel. And I could just charge up this, but the point is to see what the vehicle does in these conditions. So it's trying to shift. Ooh, wow. Shocking the system. Whoa. Hello. Hyundai, did you up your game on power shift? That was obnoxiously brutal. I love it. It would be better if it sounded a little better though. That sounded a little freaky. Or the latest EDM track is about to drop. Courtesy Hyundai. Okay, now we're tilting up, wheel up in the air, but we are driving out with gravity here, so that doesn't really mean much. The trickier spot is when we actually start coming out the top here. power. Come on. Ooh, hear that? It actually sounds like Hyundai has definitely improved their off-road systems. That's fantastic. Camera, there we go, trail cam, nice. Watch my back there, make sure I'm not gonna hit anything. Now at this point, I'm gonna get into a little bit of a seesaw motion. Just gonna put this up there. Okay, so we have traction removed both off of the front driver's side and the rear passenger side. And we're gonna just do a slow climb out and see, let's get to the point where, there, do a slow climb out and see how power shifts. Look at that rear wheel, see what it's doing. Yeah, there we go. It's a little weird, I will admit. Their system, it seems very effective, but it's different than other vehicles. It's like it thinks, and then it gets really wild. But it gets us out of those tricky situations. Okay, now let's see if we can do the logs. And we're going to listen for any rubbing, even though this has 8.1 inches of ground clearance. Find not all vehicles are alike in the way that they're hanging down. No rubbing? Great, let's go do the logs. If you do recall, when I took the Santa Fe out here, it didn't do very well, but that was a 2024 model. This is a 2025. And as I've seen so far, this one has a better off-road system. Let's see how this does. I'm just keeping it in my mode, the smart setup, definitely not baby mode. See how it shifts. Now the weather conditions are a little different today because it's raining a little bit, so the sand isn't quite as soft. Okay, this is where Santa Fe couldn't shift power. I'm full throttle, by the way, like literally full throttle. So I'm just keeping it locked straight. Lock is on. Dude, it just can't get over it. It's trying. Like, what the heck? Okay, let's try a different mode. Let's try sport. Nope. Okay, let's try snow. It can't dead left the vehicle. Ooh, snow's doing a little better job there, actually. I heard some sand shifting in the back. Now we're just digging. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Well, Hyundai, you did better and then you didn't. Try to do it with a bump. Man, it just kills throttle. Like, I'm full throttle, nothing. What the heck? This is so weird. Sport, full throttle, nothing. Okay, traction control, we'll turn that off down there. Traction control is off. Sport, full throttle, nothing. There we go, now we're digging holes. So, go, let's try this. Let's go drive. There we go. Ooh, bump a little bit on that log. Up and over, okay. Interesting that it couldn't get enough power. It just kept cutting power. I think this is going to take more research long term, but I'm going to say, you know, for the sake of this review, they've improved the system, but it's still cutting too much power when it needs it, and that is a problem. Now granted, I got through the logs, but I had to shift my line, and I couldn't just drive over a log, which most vehicles can do, especially when they have more than 200 horsepower. But everything else I like about this vehicle, I would just keep it on level paved surfaces. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share our videos. We make them for you. Hope you enjoy them, and I hope you enjoyed this first drive, review, whatever, of the new 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid Limited All-Wheel Drive.